Welcome back. Well, Grindrod has managed to weather tough trading conditions, delivering a 23% jump in headline earnings per share. Now, this comes as it recorded a strong rebound in the second quarter, particularly in its ports and terminals segment as conflict in Mozambique subsided. Joining me now is company's CEO, Xolani Mbambo. Xolani, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. So we are seeing profit growth, but we are seeing a decline in revenue. Just walk me through the disconnect there. Are we seeing a profit bump on the back of contributions from transactions that were concluded during the period?
Thank you for having me today. You are correct. If you look at our results, we've executed a few transactions which would have resulted in some accounting entries coming through in terms of the profit and disposals of our joint ventures relating to the acquisition of Madola terminal in Maputo, as well as the disposal of our marine fuel business out of Dubai. But in addition, we also collected a COVID claim that's been with us for quite a number of years. So that's somewhat negated what would have been a challenging set of numbers.
A lot of chopping and changing took place at Grindrod over the past years, even just exiting certain assets and investing in core assets. Talk to me about the overhaul. Are we nearing the end of that cycle?
Yeah, I can comfortably say that the majority of our non-core assets are now out of the way. We do have some smaller items in our balance sheet that we'll be looking to recover, but from the operating businesses perspective, the majority of those assets are gone. We have seen in the first half of this year, we were able to clear our exposure on the advances that were backed by the property in the northern KZN. That was then followed by the closing of our position in, as I said earlier, in our marine fuels trading business. So those two items were really the material and non-core assets. So going forward, I'm pleased to say that our balance sheet is clear or clean. And in fact, the proceeds that we received from those two non-core asset divestitures will assist us in boosting our balance sheet for growth going forward.
And one of your core assets based in Mozambique, right? We've had those the conflict, the civil unrest in the Southern African country over the last few months, which has subsided into 2025. Talk to me about the recovery we're seeing there. Is it business as usual?
Thank you for that question. You recall in the latter part of last year, we had a challenge indeed post-elections, and our corridor into Maputo was constrained because of those challenges. We announced last year actually that we lost between 180 to 200 million rand of earnings as a result of that. So coming into the beginning of this year, we had a challenge. So the first quarter of this year, as I've indicated in the numbers, was challenging. But whilst that was happening, we worked hard behind the scenes to ensure that the corridor returns to its normalcy. I'm very pleased to say that the volumes are ticking up nicely. As I've indicated earlier, that into the first half of, in fact, second quarter, we started seeing a bump in our volumes. If you compare quarter to quarter, quarter one to quarter two, on a monthly run rate, we're up 13%. And in the second half of this year, we started very strong. Maputo Port, which largely moves chrome, achieved a record volume of 1.5 million tons for the month of July. Our Madola terminal, which is the asset that we bought up, also achieved near 1 million tons in that month. So I can comfortably say that we are back to normal.
All right, back to normal, but we are still seeing some pressure when it comes to commodity prices. What's your sense around what's playing out there, just considering that the global environment still remains uncertain? We have those trade policies. We also have geopolitical issues still at play over in Europe and in the Middle East.
Correct there. And in fact, even the tariffs are really having an impact. As I was talking earlier in the results presentation, if you look at the region, the economies are somewhat feeling the pressure because of the tariffs position that the US is taking. I think the only country that seems to be on a positive trajectory is India. I think it's the only major economy that's showing some serious growth, and we believe that going forward, there will be an attraction of commodities going into that country. Certainly, South Africa exports over 40% of its coal to India, and it's an important destination for us. If you look at China, their economic growth is steady at 4%. We are aware that, of course, Trump has suspended the implementation of the tariff, and therefore we suspect there will be volatility going forward until that situation is settled. Safe to say that at this stage, we are still seeing a continuity of the flow of cargo, especially from our terminals going into China, in the form of magnetite in the main.
So, all right, let's pause on that. On the rail side of things, that logistics unit still under pressure, but we've also just heard the announcement of the group being awarded a third-party access to the Transnet rail network. Talk to me about that, and I guess also just public-private partnerships when it comes to the rail network in SA.
Thank you for that question. Yes, we have just received, it's hot off the press, we've just received a letter confirming the award of the slots that we applied for on the Northeast Corridor into Maputo. And I'm sure you'll agree that it's a sensible approach for us strategically because we've got customer base out of South Africa that are contracted with us for export through Maputo and Matola ports, as well as the MPDC on the Chrome side, and therefore it made sense for us to apply for those. The award is conditional, but the conditions are more around the readiness as a TOC or train operating company to be able to run on Transnet's network line, rail network. So we are pleased with this outcome, and the team is now tirelessly responding to those conditions, and there will be some negotiations, of course, around the interface agreements, etc. Some of those terms are confidential. I won't be able to share them with you in the open, but yeah, we're looking forward to run on South Africa's rail network. All
right, let's leave it there, Xolani. I think this is your last set of numbers with Grindrod, right?
Indeed.
Okay, then good luck at Kumba. I guess we'll catch you at the iron ore company, right?
Thank you. Indeed. Yeah, that's where my destination is.
All right, then.
I must say it was good to spend time in Grindrod. I really thoroughly enjoyed myself.
All right, let's leave it there, Xolani. Thanks so much for your time and sharing your insights with us this afternoon. That was Xolani Mbambo, CEO of Grindrod.